Bienvenue tous sur France24. This is our international press review today with Marion Hembust. Marion, where would you like to take us?
Well, first of all, we're going to Italy, Mark, and reaction from the Italian press, from Il Corriere della Sera in particular, about these fights which broke out over the weekend between rival groups of Italian football supporters. Now, the newspaper goes through step by step what led up to the nightmare which ended up with a young fan in his 20s, Gabriele Sandri, being killed by police as they tried to break up the fights between supporters. Now, the paper tells us that 3 Lazio fans, one of which was Sandri, were making their way to a game in Milan when they stopped for a break on motorway services and came across some Juventus supporters. Now, a fight broke out. Police were on the other side of the motorway, tried to break up the fight. They were shooting into the supporters, couldn't get any closer, and Sandri, who was actually in the back of a car, ended up being shot dead. So that was how the nightmare came about there, and the paper goes through step by step what's...
And obviously what else happened in it? It was sort of rioting. It seemed almost every football ground. One game had to be postponed. This kind of things happened. So obviously an endemic problem within Italian football.
Yes, exactly. Another bleak day for Italian football. Yeah, games were interrupted as riots broke out, anti-police protests at the news of what had happened. And it's only the second time since in the last year, in February, a police officer died in clashes outside a stadium. So Italian football's got some big hurdles to get over with
bleak year for Italian football, and lots of problems to resolve, obviously, which they will have to sort of see to later today. What's next, Marion?
The Australian has published an article giving reaction from the Georgian opposition television station Imedi, which was closed down by government special forces on Wednesday. Now, Imedi had been leading coverage of anti-government demonstrations in Tbilisi, where protesters were calling for President Mikhail Saakashvili to resign. Now, effectively, the television station is fully controlled by Murdoch's News Corporation, and that group is also the group which owns the paper The Australia, which deals with this article. Now, according to the paper's interview with the News Corp's European chief Martin Pompadour, about 200 special forces raided the television station. It came off as it was as a live broadcast was being made, announcing what was going on. Apparently, staff were held to the ground with guns against their heads, computer equipment. The control room was completely smashed, and Mr. Pompadour said that it was a totally outrageous act because the coverage had been fair and broadcast, and this was really Georgia's only independent voice broadcasting what's going on there at the moment.
Well, even if the coverage wasn't fair, and even if it was a biased station, it still sounds like an absolutely outrageous act anyway, doesn't it, to sort of hold people at gunpoint, as it's alleged in the article. It's absolutely remarkable developments there in Georgia. Where are you taking us next, Marion?
Next, on to Britain, and the fact that the UK is apparently the country which holds its terror suspects for the longest time without charge than any other comparable democracy. 28 days is the limit that we can hold terror suspects in Great Britain without charge. That's compared to 7.5 days in Turkey, 5 days in Spain, and 2 days in America. Now, all of these countries, to put it into context, have all experienced Al-Qaeda attacks. So there's questions being asked by human rights group Liberty, who actually carried out a survey, which is going to be out tomorrow, saying as to, is this right? Is this fair?
Marion, tell us quickly about this story in the New York Times.
Yes, a nice story. In 1999, a lady called Bonnie Brown applied for a job at an unknown company called Google, which of course we all know of now. She was an in-house masseuse. The pay wasn't very good, but she decided to take the job because there were some benefits, particularly in stocks. Now, she decided 5 years later to cash in those stocks and was able to retire on the millions that it brought her in.
Fantastic. Another nice story to end on. Marion Hembust with that international press review. Thank you very much indeed. Well done to you, Bonnie Brown, for seeing a good one and putting your money where your mouth is. You with the international press review. This is France 24. Stay with us.